Welcome to Sound of Resistance channel. As the Ukrainian-Russian war fills its 8th month, Russian troops continue their withdrawal from Ukrainian territory. The Russian army, which has very tired due to the Ukrainian attacks, started the recovery efforts. Putin's army is not even close to the Ukrainian heroes, both in terms of military equipment and morale. Zelensky's heroes, who take advantage of this situation of the Russian army, are pressing the invading troops as much as they can on the Ukrainian soil, withdrawals, casualties on the battlefield, and maintaining a passive position brought to the Russian army almost to the point of collapse. It is very unlikely that the Russian army will regain its former strength during the recovery process it has entered. For this reason, Russian leader Vladimir Putin wants to take the decisions to mobilize at full speed to the second and third levels. It has been mentioned that 220,000 volunteer Russian soldiers have been recruited into the Russian army for weeks. Vladimir Putin stated that, with the inclusion of 220,000 volunteers in the Russian army, the need was now fulfilled, but the Russian army still had shortcomings. Currently, the lack of military equipment of the Russian army cannot be compensated at the moment, because the Russian economy does not allow the production of a new technology at the moment. The Russian economy was also seriously damaged due to the Ukraine-Russia war. However, after Vladimir Putin stated that the soldiers recruited into the Russian army would be enough for the moment, there are still volunteer citizens mobilized into the Russian army. Because of some of his concerns, Putin still continues to build up volunteers for the Russian army. The Russian leader's biggest concern in this regard is the US and Western aid provided to Ukraine. Especially in this process, Western aid to be sent from Europe to Ukraine has been talked about a lot. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is well aware of the situation and is waiting for aid to be sent Ukraine from Europe. Because according to the aid packages to Ukraine, Putin wants to create a war strategy. While the Russian leader turned his attention to Europe to create his war policy, the whole world turned their attention to the Black Sea. The development, followed by the whole world, astonished the Russian administration and especially left Putin helpless. The Royal Navy has donated 6 submarine mine layers to Ukraine to help thwart Russia's attempts to threaten global food supplies. Britain dealt a major blow to Putin's war effort by delivering 6 underwater drones to the Ukraine and training Ukrainian soldiers to use them to clear Russian mines from the coastline. As the European aid the Russian leader had been waiting for reached Ukraine, Putin, the Kremlin administration, and other top Russian officials had to watch the development with only surprise. After training Ukrainian personnel in the Royal Navy, the UK, these demining vehicles will be sent to Ukraine to destroy Russian mines that threaten Kyiv's food exports. According to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, 3 of these drones will be sourced from the Royal Navy's own supply, and there will be purchased from industry. Finally, the landing of the Ukrainian submarine drone on the coast of Crimea alarmed the Russian Navy. After these developments, a shocking step was taken from Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The Russian leader has withdrawn Russian submarines and the Russian fleet from Crimea after the Royal Navy provided Ukraine with these underwater drones and because of the Ukrainian attacks around Crimea. According to a report by the British Ministry of Defense, Russian President Vladimir Putin had to move his Black Sea fleet from the annexed Crimean Peninsula to southern Russia following the Ukrainian attacks. This development seriously trampled the Russians in the whole world politics. For the first time since the war began, Russian leader Vladimir Putin has been humiliated in such disgrace. Vladimir Putin, who had to make such a decision because of his fear and anxiety, withdrew the Russian fleet from Crimea almost overnight. In its daily intelligence update on the Ukraine war, the British Defense Ministry stated that, after Ukraine's attacks deepened to the Crimean Peninsula, Russia moved the Black Sea Fleet Command's Kilo-class submarines from their main port in Crimea to Sevastopol. It is claimed that this move of the Russians was carried out due to the recent change in the level of local security threat in the face of Ukraine's increasing long-range attack capability. The fact that Russia's Black Sea Fleet basically controlled the entire Black Sea before the war began on February 24th is slowly changing with this move. because the Russian administration is quite afraid of possible Ukrainian attacks in and around Crimea. It is the first time that Vladimir Putin has made a decision so quickly and his decision implemented at the same speed. Currently, the Russian Navy looks no different from the Russian Army. The Russian Navy has also lost a lot of power due to the Ukraine war. The sinking of Moscow, Russia's flagship in the Black Sea with an estimated value of $750 million, and other recent events in which Russian ships were shut down in the Black Sea, also devastated the Russian Navy. Realizing that the Russian Navy is no longer in its former power, the Russian leader does not want to take any risks. It comes as no surprise that Russia's Black Sea fleet is afraid of go anywhere near the Ukrainian coastline and hide behind Crimea, because the Russian leader has no other chance at the moment. As the Ukrainian forces approach Crimea, they will soon be able to launch rockets of the High Moon Artillery rocket systems, aka legendary HIMARS, and other rockets at Sevastopol, making Crimea untenable for the Russian Black Sea fleet. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky promised last month that Ukraine would gain control Crimea as part of a sweeping counteroffensive to retake territory captured by Russia, which also worries the Russian leadership. Another shocking development that took place near the Crimea once again aroused the Russians. Russian authorities on the Crimean Peninsula claimed that the Russian Navy destroyed an unmanned surface ship, or USV, near the city of Sevastopol, home to the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet. Photos appeared on social media showing what the said naval drone might be, with many features that could indicate it could be an uncrewed, explosive-laden suicide boat that crashed on a beach. In the background of one of the images, the unmanned surface ship resembles the Russian Navy Project 775 Ropukhia-class large landing craft, examples of which are known to be stationed in Sevastopol, which greatly alarmed both local residents and Russian troops. The unmanned watercraft in question appears to have a relatively small, low profile and swallow draft design, resembling a single small water jet propulsion system. An object that looks like a multi-camera sensor system mounted in the middle of the body of the USV in this unmanned aircraft attracts attention. It is quite interesting that this object resembles a communication and data sharing antenna. It is known that the Ukrainian special operators, among other regions, the heroes of southern Ukraine, carried out raids in this region, namely in the Crimea and its environs. This drone boat can provide valuable information about the target area prior to a mission, offer additional situational awareness while executing, and aid post-mission damage assessments. In the pictures appearing on social media, it is impossible to ignore the fact that the USV seen in Crimea may be completely unrelated to the USV supplied from the USA and may have other capabilities. In fact, the mystery of this unmanned watercraft, which has a number of features that could indicate that it is a weapon rather than a surveillance and reconnaissance platform, remains unsolved. For example, some observers have suggested that the two domes in the bow of the USV, which could withstand the commercial motorized canoe design, may be contact detonators that initiate an explosive change after hitting a large object, such as a rock. The sensor in the bow of this unmanned watercraft found around the Crimea may also have a laser rangefinder system to help measure the distance to the target. Considering recent events, there will apparently be much more activity in and around Crimea. In the following processes, we will see together what will happen in this fire-filled dead end. To be notified of new videos, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.